So this video is a pre-mission briefing for my search and rescue challenge, which will be posted by the weekend. I plan to cover the performance specifications of the aircraft and also define the search grid pattern that you will need to use for the contest. The search aircraft is a Bombardier Challenger 604 as operated by the Australian Maritime Safety Authority. The specifications listed below are simplified data for contest purposes only. They are not for operational use. I'll cover off each point with a brief explanation. The minimum runway length for this aircraft is 2,000 metres for takeoff and landing. And later in the video, we will look at the Air Services Australia website and I will show you how to find the runway length of various airports within Australia. The maximum fuel capacity of the aircraft is 20,000 pounds. The taxi allowance is 300 pounds, so you burn 300 pounds of fuel taxiing before takeoff. The fixed reserve is 45 minutes at the cruise burn rate. Now the fixed reserve is the amount of fuel that you plan to have on board when you land after the flight. So when you're calculating your flight plan, you must factor in the departure from the search area with sufficient fuel on board to land with 45 minutes fuel remaining. The cruise altitude of the aircraft is 40,000 feet. That's flight level 400. The cruise speed is 400 knots true airspeed. Now in the scenario, it will be a nil wind situation. So you can assume that the true airspeed is also the ground speed. The search altitude is 500 feet above ground level. The search speed is 200 knots true airspeed. The climb speed is 300 knots true airspeed. The rate of climb, so after takeoff, this is the speed at which the aircraft is climbing vertically. The rate of climb from 0 to 30,000 feet is 2,000 feet per minute. Once we get above 30,000 feet, the rate of climb reduces. So between 30,000 feet to 40,000 feet, the rate of climb is now 1,500 feet per minute. The fuel flow. During the climb, the fuel flow is 3,000 pounds per hour. During the cruise at 40,000 feet, it is 2,000 pounds per hour. And during the descent and the search itself, the fuel flow is 1,500 pounds per hour. So let's now take a look at some definitions, and the first one is bingo fuel. This is the amount of fuel required to return from the search zone for a landing with reserves intact. If you delay your departure from the search zone, after you reach bingo fuel, you will not land with your fixed reserves intact. The most probable position. This is the most probable calculated position of the survivors. Now, I'm not going to give you that position. I will give you a method for calculating that position yourself. And to make it fair to flat earthers, I will not be referencing latitude and longitude at all. I will simply be using bearings from known locations. Nautical mile is 1,852 metres or 1.151 statute miles. And of note, the distance of 1 nautical mile is actually 1 minute of latitude. So 1 degree of latitude is equal to 60 nautical miles. So the nautical mile is used in aviation for defining distances and also when it comes to the airspeed and ground speed of the aircraft, because we use knots, and 1 knot is 1 nautical mile per hour. So flying at 200 knots, we are flying 200 nautical miles in 1 hour. Now to the search grid. The grid will be 60 by 60 nautical miles, a creeping line search grid with 5 nautical mile spacing between the lines. So when you determine your most probable position, you then have to determine the search entry point. Now, The search entry point for a 60 by 60 nautical mile grid will be 30 nautical miles to the south and 30 nautical miles either to the east or the west from that position, depending upon the airport that you depart from. So when you determine the most probable position, you will also have to determine the most suitable airport to depart from. So your search entry point will be at the southern end of the search grid and either on the eastern side or on the western side, and you will need to provide the location of that search entry point. For Globers, that will have to be a latitude and a longitude. For flat earthers, you will have to use whatever coordinate system your flat earth map is using. From that point, you then fly 60 nautical miles, 5 miles, 60 nautical miles, and you continue that pattern until you have completed the grid search. Now, if you have fuel remaining, you can then, at the exit point here, just turn around and recommence the search in the opposite direction. So you have to calculate how much fuel you have on board and how many times you can fly this search pattern before you reach bingo fuel and you must return to your landing airport. Now, you don't have to return to the same airport, but generally it will be the most efficient airport to do so. So just to explain that a little further, in Google Earth, this is the search grid I used in my original video. Departing from Adelaide, the closest entry point is to the south and east of the most probable position. Now, had we been departing from Perth, we would join the search grid at the southwestern corner. So once you determine the closest airport to the most probable position, you can determine whether it will be on the eastern side of the grid or on the western side of the grid for the search entry point. And once again, the search entry point is a point 30 nautical miles south and 30 nautical miles east or west of the most probable position. So what is the prize? I thought about offering a drone or a P900 and just decided the best thing is probably just to offer a $1,000 US dollar Amazon gift card. If you prefer that via PayPal, that is a suitable option for me as well. So 1,000 US dollars is the prize for this contest. Now I'm going to provide a 48-hour countdown to the start of the contest because I realize we all have different time zones, so I'm trying to make it as fair as possible. There will be 48 hours notice to the commencement of the contest. At that point, I will release a video that gives you the necessary information for calculating the most probable position, and from there you can calculate the other information that I will request. Once the contest starts, there will be a 72-hour window for entries, and then the contest closes. The first entry received within 10% of my calculated values wins the prize. So let's now take a look at the Air Services Australia website, so that when you determine your most probable position, you can determine which is the nearest suitable airport with a runway more than 2,000 metres in length. So the website is Air Services Australia. It's a free site. It won't cost anything. You need to click on Publications. At that point, you need to click on Aeronautical Information Products, AIP. And you need to scroll down and click on I agree down here. Now at that point, you're presented with a menu, and the one you're after is the second last one here, the En Route Supplement Australia, dated 24th of May 2018. So when you click on that, it will give you information for every airport within Australia. So for example, if we decide that Esperance is the closest airport to our most probable position, we need to ensure that it has a runway long enough. So we click on the FAC and we take a look here, and you'll see that the runway, the longest runway, is only 1,800 metres. So that airport is not suitable for the Bombardier Challenger. Let's say we wanted to depart from Melbourne. Melbourne Essendon is the smaller airport in Melbourne. That has a runway 1,921 metres, so again, it's not suitable. If we go from the primary airport, Melbourne, it has two much longer runways, 2,286 metres, and the long one is 3,657 metres. So when you choose your departure airport, you must verify that it has a runway longer than 2,000 metres. So good luck with the contest. I look forward to the entries, and stand by for the next video, which will give you a countdown to the start of the contest.